Chesterfield's Medieval Windlass. Hi! Now, if you've ever been to the museum, you may well come across our biggest and possibly one of our most important objects, and that's what we're going to look at today. Now, when you walk into the museum, this is likely to be the first thing that you notice. At least, we hope it will be. It's rather large. This is our windlass. Now, what on earth is a windlass? Well, back in the medieval period, they didn't have cranes like we do now. This was the technology of the time. Now, as technology goes, it can be dated back to the Romans, but this wheel goes back as far as the 14th century, and it was used to build our church. Yeah, that big famous one over the road with the wonky spire. But how did it work? Well, for anybody who's ever had a hamster, they might recognise it. It kind of worked the same way, but back then they didn't have giant hamsters. That'd be a pretty cool thing to have, though. Now, the windlass was used by a person. This picture is taken from a French medieval Bible. Now, as you can see, right in the centre of it, there is a windlass with a man inside, because that's how it was operated. We don't know anything about who would have been inside it, except it was a man's job. We women aren't daft. We had our own jobs, though. I really like this picture. Now, I've done a close-up of it, of the man inside, and this is one of the reasons why I like it so much. We can see he's having something to eat whilst he works. He'd probably be in there for quite a long time. But not only can you see the lump of bread in his hand, but if you look closely, there's even a bit in his mouth. One of the really good things about this picture is that it shows actually how it was worked. Not only can we see the man inside the wheel, but we can see the rope coming from it and attached onto what looks a bit like a bucket with maybe some stone inside it. And that's how it worked. The man walked and the rope that was attached to the windlass was wound up around it, raising the material. It also shows that they had some knowledge of pulley systems, making the work even easier. So it wasn't just a ratio of the size of the wheel to the weight that was being pulled up, but the fact that the pulleys would have made it easier again. As I say, ours was used to build the spire. Well, actually it was used to build the tower first. But how on earth did they use it? Well, it would have started off on the ground floor, and as they built, the material was raised up and as far as they could. Then, when they'd built a floor, they would take the wheel to pieces, move it up, put it back together, and carry on right up until they'd finished. Now, they couldn't carry on using the same wheel over and over and over again. We know that the wheel that we've got is actually the last one and was found in the room where the clock is nowadays. How do we know that this is what happened? Well, next time you're into the museum, I can show you this. On the wheel itself, there are marks where the builders had actually made marks on the wheel itself so that when they took it to pieces, they could put it back together properly. Now, I've highlighted this little bit of the wheel. Now, you can't see it on here, but on the spoke, there are 3 marks, almost like Roman numerals, and the same 3 marks are on the rim of the wheel. Whilst our wheel is pretty special, it's not the only one still in existence, but it is the only one not in situ. Here's a list of some of the others that we know about. Beverly Minster, Peterborough Cathedral, Ely Minster, Salisbury Cathedral, Tewkesbury Abbey, and certainly not least, Canterbury Cathedral. This picture shows the wheel in the Tower of Beverly Minster. Now, this wheel only dates from the 18th century, so ours is far older, something we're really proud. Now, if you were to go on a tower tour at the Minster, you'll even be able to see it for yourself. And this is the wheel in Salisbury Cathedral. Again, it's still a pretty old wheel and still in situ. This one is the wheel in Canterbury Cathedral. Now, as you can see, the picture shows Tony Robinson. So this picture has actually been taken from the recent programmes that he did called Britain's Great Cathedrals, where he went up the Bell Harry Tower. And it just puts into perspective the size of the wheel. Although, even though Canterbury is possibly the most important cathedral in the country, their wheel is still smaller than ours. Now, this picture is of a very different windlass. Unlike the others, which are all really old, this one's pretty new. This one is at a place called Guédelon in France, where a huge project is underway for building a castle using only original means and methods, including having built windlasses. This one shows not only the wheel in action, but also how they may well have stopped it. If you look on the left-hand side, there's kind of a brakes, a bit like we might find on our bikes. There was a series of programmes done by the BBC called Secret